Imagine you wake up tomorrow and discover that the company you work for has just figured out how to automate 60% of your job. You might immediately think of a programmer, or a graphic designer, maybe a writer, maybe even an accountant. But here's the strange part. Those aren't necessarily the jobs AI is most exposed to. The jobs sitting closest to the front of the line may be much more ordinary. Administrative assistants, data entry workers, bookkeeping clerks, customer support. People whose jobs involve moving information from one place to another. And that should make you rethink what AI replacing jobs actually looks like. Because the first jobs AI changes dramatically may not disappear overnight. They may simply require fewer people. For the last few years, we've been asking the wrong question about artificial intelligence. We keep asking, what jobs will AI replace? But that's not really how this works. A job isn't one single task. An accountant doesn't just do accounting. An administrative assistant doesn't just do administration. A marketing manager doesn't just do marketing. Every job is actually a collection of dozens, sometimes hundreds of smaller tasks. Some of those tasks require judgment. Some require creativity. Some require dealing with unpredictable human beings. And some are basically, read this, copy that, summarize this, enter this information, schedule this meeting, write this email, move this data into that spreadsheet. And those last few tasks are exactly where generative AI is becoming extremely powerful. That's why the real question isn't, can AI replace this job? The better question is, how much of this job can AI already do? This isn't just speculation from people on the internet. In 2025, the International Labour Organization published a refined global analysis of generative AI exposure across occupations, and one result stood out. Clerical occupations had the highest exposure to generative AI. Not because every clerical worker is about to lose their job, but because so many of the tasks inside these occupations can potentially be performed, assisted, or dramatically accelerated by AI. The ILO estimates that roughly 1 in 4 workers globally are in occupations with some degree of exposure to generative AI. But here's the important part. The ILO says the most likely outcome for most occupations is transformation, not complete replacement. In other words, AI doesn't necessarily walk into an office and fire everyone. It can do something much more subtle. It can allow one person to do the work that previously required 2 or 3. And that's where things get interesting. Picture a normal office worker. Their morning starts with 47 emails. Normally, they might spend an hour sorting through them. But now, an AI assistant can classify them. It can summarize them. It can identify which ones actually require a response. It can draft replies. It can pull information from previous conversations. And suddenly, that 1-hour task might take 15 minutes. Then there's the calendar. Instead of manually going back and forth with 5 people trying to find a meeting time, an AI assistant can handle the scheduling. Then there's the weekly report. Instead of opening 5 spreadsheets, copying numbers, formatting charts, and writing a summary, AI can do much of the first draft. Then there's data entry, then document processing, then transcription, then customer inquiries, then internal knowledge searches. None of these tasks individually sounds revolutionary. That's actually the point. AI doesn't have to become a human being to transform an office. It just has to become good enough at hundreds of small tasks. And it's getting there. This is where I think the conversation around AI gets misunderstood. People imagine the future looking like this. 10 employees walk into an office. A humanoid robot walks in. The robot says, "Sorry guys, you're all fired." But that's probably not what happens. The more realistic version is much quieter. A company has 10 employees. Then it introduces AI tools, One employee can now handle the workload that used to require two. A few months later, the company grows, but doesn't hire as many new people. Eventually, someone leaves, and instead of replacing them, the company decides not to. Nobody gets replaced by a robot in one dramatic moment. The organization simply becomes capable of operating with fewer people. And from the company's perspective, that can be an incredibly powerful incentive. Because AI isn't just about replacing workers, it's about increasing the amount of output each worker can produce. And there are already signs pointing in this direction. The World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025 expects clerical and secretarial roles to experience some of the largest declines in absolute numbers through 2030. That includes roles such as administrative assistants and executive secretaries. It also identifies data entry clerks, bank tellers, and postal service clerks among the fastest declining roles. Meanwhile, many technology-related occupations are expected to grow. AI and machine learning specialists, big data specialists, software and application developers, cybersecurity-related roles. So there's a strange pattern emerging. Technology isn't simply destroying jobs, it's rearranging where human labor is valuable. The demand for some types of work goes down, while demand for other types goes up. And that creates a much bigger question. What happens to the people caught in the middle? Here's where things get even more interesting. You might assume that the people most vulnerable to AI are the people doing the simplest jobs. But that's not necessarily true. Generative AI is increasingly capable of working with language, documents, images, code, spreadsheets, and other digital information. That means some highly educated, highly paid workers are also exposed. Financial analysts, developers, writers, designers, legal professionals, researchers, consultants. The dividing line isn't simply high skill versus low skill. It's increasingly becoming how much of your work can be converted into information that software can process. If most of your day happens inside a computer, AI has a lot more opportunities to help or replace parts of what you do. And that's a much more uncomfortable way to think about the future. Now, before you start panicking about your job, there's an important catch. AI is impressive, but impressive isn't the same thing as autonomous. The ILO's research makes this distinction very clear. Most occupations contain tasks that still require human involvement. Real-world workplaces are messy. Information can be incomplete. Customers behave unpredictably. Companies have outdated systems. Employees make mistakes. And sometimes the person who understands the situation matters more than the person who can produce the fastest answer. So the future probably isn't humans versus AI. It's more complicated. It may be humans who use AI versus humans who don't. And that difference could become enormous. Think about what happened with calculators. Calculators didn't make mathematics disappear. They changed what humans needed to spend their time doing. Computers didn't eliminate every office worker. They changed what office work looked like. The internet didn't destroy every business. It created entirely new ones while killing or transforming others. AI could follow the same pattern. Except this time, the technology isn't just calculating numbers. It's generating language, writing, analyzing, coding, creating images, processing documents, interacting with customers, and increasingly, performing sequences of tasks. That's why this shift could be different. The technology isn't just replacing a tool, it's beginning to perform pieces of the work itself. So don't ask yourself, will AI take my job? Ask something more useful. Open your job description. Look at everything you do during a normal week. Then divide those tasks into 3 categories: Tasks AI can already do. Tasks AI can assist with. And tasks that still depend heavily on human judgment, relationships, physical presence, or unpredictable situations. That third category may become extremely valuable, because if AI can perform 70% of your current tasks, your value may eventually depend on what you can do with the remaining 30%. And that is the part of the AI revolution that doesn't get talked about enough. The future may not belong to people whose jobs are impossible for AI to do. It may belong to people who learn how to work alongside it before everyone else does. Because the first jobs AI transforms probably won't disappear with a dramatic announcement. There may be no robot standing outside your office, no company-wide email saying, AI has replaced your department. Instead, one task disappears, then another, until one day, the company realizes it doesn't need as many people to produce the same amount of work. And that's the real shift. AI doesn't have to replace your entire job to change your life. It only has to replace enough of it. So here's the question. How much of your job could AI already do? And if you don't know the answer, maybe that's the first thing you should find out.